Welcome to the webinar organized by the Union for Mediterranean, devoted to celebrate the International Women's Day. A pleasure to be with you today. This event is also live stream on YouTube. We are happy to have with us quite distinguished speakers and panelists coming from all the region, from European and Mediterranean side. Today, the event is devoted to the United Nations Women theme for 2023, that is Digital Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. Today, you will have the possibility to follow the event online, and you can select from the bottom of your screen the simultaneous interpretation in English, French, and Arabic. I would like to just introduce the agenda for today before giving the floor to the speaker. My name is Anna Duranglica. I am Project Manager on Social and Civil Affairs Division at the Union for Mediterranean. And we have decided to focus our event today on how the digital and new technology can be more gender sensitive. And in order to explore this opportunity, we decide to bring on board different perspectives. What does it mean in terms of artificial intelligence? What means in terms of STEM? What means in terms of financial inclusion? And what means in terms of industrial revolution, Industry 4.0, for being a real opportunity and not a barrier for gender equality. I would like just to quote the Executive Director of the United Nations Women, who yesterday launched the 67 Commission on Status of Women in New York by saying that the digital gap is one of the phases of new gender inequality. She mentioned about the challenge of digital poverty. And this is why we consider that all the stakeholders from public, private, civil society and academia, we should focus on finding the right solution and to promote good practices or avoiding that this scenario of being the digital gap, a new gender inequality element, will become a reality. I will be now happy to give the floor to our next panelist, who we will focus more on a specific dimension, that is the one of fintech. I'm pleased to introduce to you Mr. Christophe Malherbe, who is team leader of the MED Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises Regional Program funded by the European Union. The program is active in 8 countries of the Southern Mediterranean region and provides support for development of a business environment and policies that are conducive to the development of micro, small, medium enterprises, particularly in the field of alternative finance and digital. Christophe, fintech or financial technology has the potential to be a driver of financial inclusion for women. Could you briefly tell us what are the associated benefits and risks of this kind of approach? The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much for inviting me to present the work we are undertaking under the MED MSMEs Programme. The program is funded by the European Union through DigiNear. It's a regional program. We are working closely also with the UFM in that respect, and we are focusing on basically improving the environment for MED MSMEs in the region. Small and medium, micro, small and medium-sized enterprises in the region, with 2 pillars, one pillar being internationalization and the second one being access to finance. And when we discuss about access to finance, it prompted a certain number of questions related to fintech and digitalization. Will fintech be really a driver of inclusion of women in the region? And I'm really placing myself in the in what Mrs. Whitman presented, okay, because this is really a key topic, and actually some evidence came from Harvard Business School that there is a red flag that should be spotted there. Fintech might be a factor not of inclusion but of disinclusion if we don't take care of the way fintech is developing. I had some figures that I wanted to share with you. I don't know if I can share my screen. Am I allowed to share my screen?
Yes, in principle, yes.
In principle, yes. So I will try. So very quickly on the situation analysis, I think everything has been said, but okay, first, fintech is a hugely growing sector, as we all know. Now it's reached about $32 trillion. So it should reach more than $30 trillion in 2026, meaning that 6 times actually what it was 5 years earlier. So there is huge hopes that are raised in terms of inclusiveness, okay? And with poor, with young people and gender. Actually, if we look at some indices, okay, that may give us a clue on what's going on, we will see that at the end of the day, since 2017, the Global Findex tells us that only 6%, that there has been only a 6% increase in the banked adults. And 2017, we had the COVID. It was, of course, a driver of digitalization, but at the end of the day, it's still modest, very modest, I would say. The second is that in terms of how long it will take, I mean, to close the gender gap, but we all know that. I mean, it will take 150 years to close this gap. And the third one is the fact that if we increase by 1% the usage of fintech, actually it results in 0.4% increase in the ratio of female to total employees, which shows what? Which shows that the multiplier effect that we were expecting is not there. To the contrary. And I would like, I should have done that in the beginning, I mean, to pay tribute to Dr. Amira KADDOUR, who's with us and who prepared the study. A gender transformative approach is needed. We heard that, okay? And it's not sufficient to target women as mere beneficiaries of financial inclusion strategies through fintech when it comes to empowering women. Again, there is a risk not to consider fintech in gender lens, okay? And not a gender lens in fintech. This is not fintech, the umbrella, and under which we have a subset that is woman. No, these are woman is the umbrella. And fintech is among the instruments that should be seen through the gender lens, because the question was raised. And actually, we don't want to replicate the existing limitations of the system. We have lack of access to finance of women. And we know that all these fintech applications are based on open data. We heard about it from Mrs. Slim. It's based on artificial intelligence, okay, that is not so intelligent, but that is using past data to do something for the future. So the risk of replication is high. The second is, okay, there is a risk of reinforcing and widening the gap. And the third, more important, is losing control of algorithm. When you have coding that with 100,000 of lines of codes, and this is what Facebook is saying, that they lost completely control on the way their algorithm works. And it's too costly, it's too complicated to go back and open the box. So we may be creating black boxes that will, by default, replicate the problems of the past, and this is something we need to be aware of. Gender transformative approach, creating a promising environment for fintech development and innovation. We talk about STEM with policies and regulation first. And when we talk about finance, we discuss with central banks, we discuss with regulators, non-banking regulators, we discuss with ministries of finance. There is still a lot of those professionals in the region who consider that finance is a non-gender sensitive topic. Regulating finance is not gender sensitive. It is, of course, and we need to raise the awareness of policymakers and regulators to take that into consideration. We may go in detail about that, but okay, what about the region? The region is lagging behind, as shown on the graph upper left with the Asia Pacific in terms of gender balance. Definitely, apart from Tunisia, that has done some great progresses, and actually, it's brought us the analysis brought us to 5 needs. We need to foster inclusive governance. Again, I mean, we need to make policymakers and regulators more aware of the gender and finance intersectionality. Okay, how do you approach those two? Second, improve fintech ecosystem. If we look throughout the region, there are wide diversity of legal frameworks, the way it's taken, and financial inclusion via fintech remains mostly descriptive. If you look at the financial inclusion strategies, countries by countries, and you look at it, yes, you have beautiful paragraphs, but as it was said earlier, I guess by Mrs. Amara, we need to walk the talk. And foster knowledge transfer. This is what you're doing. This is absolutely beautiful. The UFM through the Intech network is doing it also. We are all striving to do that, but I would say that fintech in particular would be a topic that should be included also in this networking and exchange of experience. Community of practice, very important. Women empowerment in fintech. Again, women are seen as users. Then there is a lack of integrated vision and strategies, and civil society advocacy, because many of women in business association, they don't have simply, yes, it was said that we have plenty of resources that are available, that are for free, that this is absolutely beautiful, but not everybody would do that spontaneously. So we need to support the capacity building of women in business associations to be actually a counterpart to regulators, a counterpart to policymakers. So now the idea is that we have issued the first preliminary roadmap with the 8 actions that were discussed in December in Brussels. And we peer reviewed this roadmap that we can share with you if you're interested. And we praise the relevance of the action from the ecosystem. We had a ranking of this roadmap that maybe Dr. Amira KADDOUR, who joined today, may present. I mean, may present some of those which are, in her view, the most important topics. But what we would like to say is really that it's important to work, and this is what we are doing now in the new phase of this project, in mobilizing the EU and SouthMed stakeholders around the women in fintech topic and the forum and networking. By the way, it doesn't exist in the SouthMed. It exists in Europe, it exists in the States, it exists in sub-Saharan Africa. So why not in the SouthMed? I mean, and we should link those women in fintech, definitely. And the second is we are developing also a training that will be a kind of foundational training for policymakers and regulators to know how they can comprehend this dimension when they discuss fintech. So this is something important. Now, this is our top priority, is to mobilize champions, and we have champions here today, so this is beautiful. Thank you for this opportunity. Supporting association and placing stakeholders really at the center, so that we align our efforts. And I think the EU upcoming program of the GNIR will be very important in that respect. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Christophe. Thank you for sharing the concrete tools and approach and methodology that you are using in the framework of this project. I will come back on the concept that you are stressing now, that is about networking and capacity building in the specific area of fintech, because the Union for Mediterranean is going to launch a specific network of women in tech. So most likely there will be some synergies to create with what you are doing specifically on fintech. I would like to give you the floor to tell us, you mentioned some of the elements that are still missing, but I would like to ask you, Christophe, what do you think from the private sector perspective? what is missing in taking on board this gender perspective when we talk about financial and more specifically fintech sector. Thank you. You're muted, sorry. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to repeat what Anne-France said perfectly, is that, I mean, the policy level is really key. In terms of fintech, the regulation is in the making. Now we have 14 banks, central banks, sorry, in the world out of 170 that are governed by banks, by women. Okay, so the European Central Bank being one of them. And it's for us, it's a role model. The European Central Bank is maybe the most active central bank in terms of integration of the gender dimension, and we can facilitate the transfer of this know-how towards the South Med countries. And this is I would say the idea of the Euromed exchange of knowledge, experience, and practitioners. The second pillar of it is really, but it was said also, is to build up the capacities of women in business associations. Very important. I will be very short. I would like to give the floor 1 minute or 2 minutes to Professor Amira KADDOUR, who is the author of the study I presented, and who can tell us a little bit more. And Amira is also the founder and executive member of the Africa FinTech and Payment Women in FinTech and Payment Association. So, Amira.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Christopher. Thank you so much. I would like to clarify, member of the African Women in FinTech and Payment, the Francophone section, but founder of MENA Climate Finance and FinTech Association network. So I would like to add that we have really discussed largely about these digital gaps and the gap that we have in STEM education and also in the financial sector. But there is an important other factor that we have covered in our study, which is women in innovation. And would like to share with you that according to the WIPO statistics, we have just about 16.5% of international patent application women, and this is the topic of this year for the 26th of April, the can-do attitude. As we would like really to boost these digital solutions tailored for the benefit of women, and we have tried to assess all of these relationships in our study, and there is an important value that has emerged, which is networking. We believe that regional learning and peer learning is very important, and this will contribute to improve the capacities of women in the different Mediterranean countries, but also improving the capacities and the peer learning of policymakers. So regarding the next steps, we are working on capacity building. Definitely, we are working on strengthening this networking value, as it is really missing. So, and we do believe that fintech can be an important driver for the use of technologies in our daily life, and through the use of technology, women can be more familiar to use technology, and fintech can be an indirect driver to close these gender gaps when we speak about technological divide. So thank you so much. I try to be very short and brief. Thank you.
Thank you, Amira. Very much appreciated. If you have any link that you would like to share on the chat, maybe about the program, of the initiative, of the your association on African women in fintech, happy to also share. Just for information, we are going to circulate a short report of today's discussion among you, and also to our attendees following us online, just to have a basis for a follow-up of all our attendees.